Hello YouTube and fellow card collectors, this is Eric J. Today we're continuing our series of walking through other sets and collectibles that pulled me away from sports cards collecting when I was younger. This is going to be the sixth part of looking at the Star Wars customizable card game from Decipher. We're going to be looking at Dark Side cards again and looking at the Dagobah set expansion and the Cloud City expansion. Dagobah expansion was released in April of 1997, and the Cloud City expansion was released in November of 1997. These sets changed the distribution slightly. No longer is there two tiers of rare, common, and uncommon in the sets. They moved to a 180 card set as a whole for each of these, with 80 rares and 50 each at the common and uncommon level. That would have been split 50-50 between dark and light side. So for each of these sets, we'll see 40 rares, 25 uncommons, 25 commons. Booster packs were switched up to 9 cards per booster pack, where there were 15 prior. This helped find the additional rares, as the booster boxes tend to be a little bit larger too, but at least for Dagobah they were. Without further ado though, we'll jump into and start looking at the set. So Dagobah for the dark side introduced a whole bunch of the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, and it should be noted that this is the second and third expansions that dealt with Empire Strikes Back pre-special edition. And most of the bounty hunters, you can see like Forlom and Bosk here, were rare cards, as were most of the big time named captains, though big time's always relative. The ones that are more recognizable tended to be rare. So that's what we have here. Also to mention, I did keep 3 sets of these, as mentioned in the past videos. So the dark side introduced a lot of characters in this set as the second part of the Empire Strikes Back. If you recall, there's kind of 2 themes going on. You had Luke on Dagobah with Yoda training, and then you had the Empire chasing the Millennium Falcon through an asteroid belt and whatnot, following the Battle of Hoth. So a lot of the dark side cards are more focused on the capture of the Millennium Falcon and the capture of, it's got more bounty hunters, capture of Han and Leia. So you'll see a lot of cards here, more bounty hunters that deal with both Dagobah with creatures or space. What was going on with the group that was trying to escape, like the slug here. And again, more Dagobah and space, just kind of the 2 distinct themes that were going on at the time. So this particular set, I remember chasing most of the bounty hunters, though you'll notice that there's one, as I thumbed through earlier, there's one big bounty hunter missing, and that was Boba Fett. Boba Fett was held back from the Dagobah set and shows up later on in the Cloud City set, which I don't remember being particularly disappointed about that, though I know that there are some that were critical of that decision made by Decipher at the time. But it wasn't a big deal to me. As I mentioned in some of the flavor text on this one, if I were to zoom into it, this is taking some of the scenes where Yoda is concentrate as he's falling. They like to hide little Easter eggs and little quotes from the movies throughout. Here's one of the few cards that has Boba Fett in this picture in Dagobah, the Dagobah set. So a lot of expansions. or a lot of red cards in this particular set. Also, they also introduced some asteroid rules and cards in these sets, which when I go through the light side cards, there was a degenerate combo for the players that were playing at the time with some of the asteroid rules and how a card was originally written that ended up having to be revised, errated. So those sort of things also did come up at the time. More Star Destroyers, including the big one, Executor. First vehicle card that you played sideways rather than vertical, horizontal and vertical. And then all these random vehicles for the different bounty hunters, some of which we didn't really know in the movies directly, but expanded universe and whatnot brought them into play, so we knew what their names were. And then a lot of weapons for various characters. So that's Dagobah. Getting over to Cloud City, it was the same distribution. Cloud City was actually, in a lot of ways, is the junk wax set of one of the two heavy junk wax sets of the Star Wars customizable card game. Cloud City and later the Jabba's Palace expansion are virtually worthless on the secondary market. But Boba Fett is in this set. If he's your favorite character, you'd go after packs to get that guy card, though. Or you can spend I'm sure it's less than $5 to get him. Probably $1 or $2. Because this has Cloud City throughout. One of the interesting mechanics about this particular set was Lando had both a light side and a dark side persona. So he was the first character that had that light side and dark side, and since we typically didn't want to see the same character on the field of battle twice, it made for an interesting set of rules. Though, as I mentioned, I'm not going through the rules on how to play the game. It's just make note that Lando, if you're ever to get these cards and want to play with him, he's got some rules with the fact that he's got both light side and dark side cards. So a lot of events and effects that deal with trapping Skywalker, trying to trap him, trying to freeze him in carbonite. And of course Han did get frozen in carbonite in the movies. Spoiler alert for a movie that's 40 years old now. So many cards in here that are focused on the plot twists and the dark side really taking over during Cloud City, and a few of these cards are still reasonably competitive. Not very many though. A few of the locations. Slave 1, Boba Fett's ship. And this is the last of the cards in this set. So those are the cards for or 3 copies of each card for Dark Side, Cloud City, and for Dagobah. Dagobah cards are marginally more expensive than Cloud City cards, still relatively easy to get because these are still pretty heavily produced sets. As I mentioned in other videos, and make sure I try to show in most of these, is that I did put the checklist on the back of these binders, just so you know what cards are in there and the rarities. Just a way to get, find cards reasonably quick. In any case, that is the dark side cards for Dagobah and Cloud City. I'll come back with a future video to show the light side cards. As I mentioned in other videos, these videos where I go through sets of cards or collectibles that pulled me away from sports cards will just be sprinkled in throughout my regular series of sports cards related sets. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like. Please leave comments if you wish. And if you want to subscribe, that is also greatly appreciated. We'll look forward to chatting with y'all in a future video. Bye now.